Hi, boys and girls. It's Friday and we are doing We Write. We're on page 22. And yesterday we had read the story about Steve and how he had a small house and people kept coming to see him. Your job today is to write about that story, to retell it. Re means again. So we're going to tell it again. Before we do that, though, on page 22, we're going to draw what happened in the story because drawing is a great way to visualize, to see it in our brain before we get it down onto paper. So I want you to think about what happened first in the story, next, and then last in our story. So first, it was talking about Steve and how he had this cute house, but Eve came over with all of her 5 kids, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. And she's like, oh, this is a cute house. I'm going to stay a while. Cute, right? Because we're doing long U. Then I think his name was Pete, came along. And he also liked the house. He's going to have a buzz cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 5 kids too. And they were like, we're going to stay a long time. Remember that? And Steve's probably like, what? You are? You can't stay a long time. 5 plus 5 is 10. That's just the kids. 11, 12. We're at 12 more people over. Oh my goodness. After that, do you remember what happened? His kids ate all of the food. Yeah, and they jumped on beds, I think. Yeah, so here's a kid and like food is just, they're like using their hands and they've got this food and they're like shoving it in their face and crumbs are falling. And the cupboard, this is the cupboard and the shelves are bare. That shows they ate all the food. And then they jumped on the bed, and this is like lines showing movement. They jumped on the beds. And last, do you remember what happened at the end? Steve finally was like, this is not a huge house. You have to go. So Steve was like, goodbye. And he kicked them all out. He said, next time, I'll come see you. Don't come see me. I'll see you. All right. So I have first, next, last. These are all the major points of the story. The people come over, they like wreck his house and are really rude and really disrespectful. Please don't go over to somebody's house and say I'm staying a really long time if they're not okay with it. And then Steve was like, out you go. And here's Steve. We'll get Steve some like long waves. So then that way we know the difference between Steve and Pete. Okay. So now that I've written it, it's really fresh in my mind about the story. Now I can write about it. So on page 22, that is exactly what you're going to do. So I believe it says, write about this story, write what happened in the story. So we're just going to use complete sentences to tell the story of what happened. Okay, so I'm going to try to plan out what I'm writing, and I had my stuff erased. Yours obviously will be in your books, so it won't be erased. But I'm going to say Steve, there's that long E, had a small house. You should be able to read this and know exactly what happened in the story without reading the whole story. Steve had a small house. Eve, and look at all these long E words. Pete came with their 5 kids. Whoop. There we go. All right. So Steve had a small house. Eve and Pete came with their 5 kids. All right. I don't know if that's very, very obvious that that there are 10 kids. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to say the 10 kids ate all of the food and made a mess. Steve said, when people say things, if you notice in your book, anytime the words that are actually spoken from their mouths are in quotation marks, and it's not just one, it's two. So Steve said, and this is actually what he said, goodbye. Next time I will come, ooh, this is hard, to you, exclamation point, end of what he said. So he said, goodbye, next time I will come to you. End of what he said. So it's kind of like a bubble. It's kind of like you're wrapping a Christmas present and you're giving it to someone, or a birthday present or anything else. You're going to wrap it in these quotation marks. So you wrap it in goodbye, and you wrap goodbye, next time I will come to you. All right, so now I'm going to reread it just to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. Steve had a small house. Eve and Pete came with their 5 kids. The 10 kids ate all of the food and made a mess. Steve said, goodbye, next time I will come to you. All right, you don't have to write what I wrote. You can write whatever you would like. But if you want to use this, it is there for you to use. Now you have to make sure we have some requirements, and I believe they are, did you use any long U's and long E words? Yeah, I have a lot. I have Steve, it's a long E, Eve, Pete, long E. The 10 kids came and made a mess. Steve said, goodbye, next time I will come to you. I could have put huge in here, made a huge, and then I would have had a long U. I also used vocabulary words. So mess was a vocabulary word. Goodbye was a vocabulary word. All right. And then I wrote about each main thing that happened in the story. Main thing is they came with all of their 5 kids and made a huge mess. And then Steve was like, bye, you gotta go. Speaking of which, I gotta go. Bye.